The moment the sound of Mrs. Attaboy's car faded into the distance, Roselline collapsed onto the floor. Her chest heaved with sobs so deep they sounded like they came from the bottom of her soul. She clutched the edge of the worn-out couch, rocking herself, her fingers trembling. Raphael knelt beside her, his heart breaking into pieces with every sound she made. "Rosie, please, please don't do this to yourself," he whispered, pulling her into his arms. But Roselline could not stop. She wept for her mother, for her father, for the life she had left behind, for the little girl inside her who had once danced barefoot in the mansion halls. Raphael squeezed his eyes shut, his throat tightening painfully, and then, without warning, he began to cry too. His shoulders shook as he buried his face in his hands. "It's me," he choked. "It's me, Rosie. I'm the reason you've lost everything. I'm the reason your parents are gone from your life. This was never supposed to happen." He pulled away slightly, grabbing her hands tightly, his eyes red and swollen. "Rosie, maybe you should go back. Go back to them. Go back to your family. Leave me. Leave this mess. You don't deserve this kind of suffering." She shook her head fiercely through her tears. But Raphael only cried harder. "It's not fair," he burst out. "It's not fair that I love you this much, and it destroys everything you had. Punish me, Rosie. Beat me. Shout at me. Nail me to the cross if you want. Just don't let me be the reason your world is falling apart." His voice cracked, raw and desperate, like a man unraveling in the face of his deepest fear. For a long moment, they both sat there, clutching each other, drowning in grief. And then, trembling, Roselline reached out. She cupped his tear-streaked face in her hands, lifting it so their eyes met. Two shattered souls gazing at each other through a haze of heartbreak. "Raphael," she whispered hoarsely, "you are not the reason. You are the only reason I can still stand. You are the only thing holding me together. And I will never, ever leave you." Raphael stared at her, eyes wide, his breath hitching. Slowly, a fragile smile broke through his tears. And then, in a moment of quiet surrender, they both leaned in, wrapping their arms around each other as if the world outside no longer mattered. They held on for a long time, two lovers caught between loss and love, grief and grace. When they finally pulled back, their faces were still wet, but their smiles were soft, shaky, and real. In that tiny room, they made a silent promise. No matter how much they lost, they still had each other, and that was enough. The next morning, the sun rose gently over the neighborhood, casting a soft golden glow on the streets. Raphael watched Roselline as she sipped her tea quietly, her eyes puffy but calmer than the day before. He reached across the table, his hand covering hers. "Come on, Rosie," he murmured with a gentle smile. "Let's get out today. You and me. No tears, no heavy talks. Just fresh air." She looked at him, surprised, then slowly, she smiled. They deserved a little happiness. The small park near their neighborhood was far from fancy, but to Roselline, it felt like an escape. Children laughed and ran across the playground. Vendors sold puff-puff and roasted corn at the entrance. Old couples strolled slowly under the shade of neem trees, their hands intertwined. Raphael led her to a wooden bench by the edge of a pond, where ducks floated lazily on the water. For a moment, they sat quietly, soaking in the sunlight, the sound of life around them, the feel of peace they hadn't known for so long. "Thank you," Roselline whispered softly, leaning her head on Raphael's shoulder, "for bringing me here, for reminding me that I'm allowed to smile." Raphael kissed her forehead lightly. "You'll always be allowed to smile with me." But their moment was shattered by the unmistakable sound of expensive shoes crunching on gravel. Roselline stiffened immediately. She turned. Anthony Morris, leaning casually against a tree, sunglasses glinting in the sun, a smirk playing on his lips. He walked toward them, slow and deliberate, hands tucked into the pockets of his designer trousers. "Quite the sweet scene," Anthony said smoothly, his eyes sharp behind the charm. "Romance in the middle of simplicity. How poetic." Roselline rose, her fists clenched. "What do you want, Anthony?" she snapped. Anthony removed his sunglasses slowly, sliding them into his pocket. "I've been doing some digging," he said casually. "Seems your parents gave you half of their empire, then packed up and flew abroad. And here you are, sitting in a public park, with the man who cost them everything." He gave a slow, pitying shake of his head. "Do you really think this is right, Roselline? Your parents gave you the world, and this is how you pay them back? By throwing all away for love? By breaking their hearts and leaving them to run off into exile?" Roselline's eyes glistened, but she refused to lower her head. "I'm not discussing my life with you, Anthony." But Anthony wasn't done. He turned sharply to Raphael, his smile tightening into something darker. "And you," he said coolly, "I hope you're proud of yourself." Raphael stiffened, standing protectively in front of Roselline. Anthony's voice dropped, sharp as a blade. "Let me be very clear, Raphael. If anything, and I mean anything, happens to Roselline, I will deal with you personally. I'm watching you, every move. I will not sit by and watch you ruin her life." For a moment, none of them spoke, the air thick with tension, the birds around them falling strangely silent. Anthony gave a cold, tight smile. "Enjoy your day out, lovebirds." And with that, he turned on his heel and walked away, his presence leaving a chill in the air. Roselline felt her breath hitch. Raphael gently reached for her hand. Without another word, they both left the park, walking side by side in angry, frustrated silence. Their peace had been shattered, but their resolve remained. As they left the park, the silence between them was heavy. They walked side by side to the narrow streets, the sun dipping lower into the horizon, casting long shadows that stretched before their feet. At the street corner, Raphael squeezed Roselline's hand gently. "Love, go home and rest," he said softly. "I need to grab a few things from the shop, just toiletries and some food. I won't be long." Roselline nodded faintly, her heart still aching from the encounter at the park. She walked the rest of the way alone, her steps slow, the air suddenly colder. When she entered the tiny apartment, the quiet hit her like a wave. The stillness wrapped around her, thick and suffocating. She sat down on the edge of the bed, letting her bag slide carelessly to the floor. At first, she just sat there staring at the wall. But then the memories came. Her mother's laugh at the breakfast table, her father's strong arms lifting her up when she was a child, the sound of the piano in the mansion's music room, the smell of her mother's perfume, the soft brush of her fingers across Roselline's forehead when she was sick. The memories flooded her mind like a rushing wind, fierce and relentless. A sharp, painful lump formed in her throat. How did I get the strength to walk away from them? The question echoed in her heart like a drum. She covered her face with her hands as the first sob escaped her throat. Then another, and another. Soon, she was bent over, her shoulders shaking violently as she cried. Not just for herself, but for her mother, her father, the life she had cut herself away from. For a brief, aching moment, she reached for her phone, her trembling fingers hovering over her mother's number. Maybe I should call. Maybe I should say sorry. Maybe. But then the doubt hit her like a slap. Would they ever accept Raphael? Would they ever accept who I become? Would they just tell me to come home and leave him behind? The phone slipped from her hand as another wave of tears overtook her. The door creaked softly. Raphael stepped in quietly, carrying a small plastic bag. His eyes immediately softened when he saw her curled on the bed, face buried in her hands, body racked with sobs. Without a word, he crossed the room, placed the bag aside, and sat down beside her. He pulled her gently into his arms, wrapping her tight against his chest. Rosie, my love, I'm here," he whispered softly, kissing the top of her head. "You're not alone. You'll never be alone." His fingers stroked her hair as she cried into his chest, his other hand rubbing soothing circles on her back. "I know it hurts. I know you miss them. But we'll get through this, my love. We'll build something beautiful. Just you and me. I'll carry your sadness with you. I'll be your family now." His voice was steady, warm, and tender, an anchor in the storm of her sorrow. Slowly, her sobs softened. She rested against him, breathing in the scent of his skin, feeling his steady heartbeat beneath her ear. And in that small, quiet room, between between the walls of loss and love, Roselline found the tiniest flicker of peace again. The room was still, the air heavy with the quiet aftermath of Roselline's tears. She was curled against Raphael's chest, her face pressed into the soft fabric of his shirt, feeling his heartbeat calmly beneath her ear. His arms tightened gently around her, and for a moment, they just breathed together, two souls anchoring each other in a storm. Then, Raphael shifted slightly, easing her back so he could look into her face. "Rosie," he murmured, brushing a tear from her cheek with his thumb. "There's something I've been carrying with me for a long time now." She blinked up at him, eyes still red and puffy, but softening with curiosity. He reached into his pocket, his fingers trembling slightly, and then, without another word, he lowered himself onto one knee. For a moment, Roselline froze, her breath caught in her throat. "Raphael," she whispered, hands flying to her mouth. He held up a small, simple silver ring. No diamonds, no gemstones, just a smooth band that gleamed with quiet beauty. "Rosie," Raphael said softly, his voice shaking with emotion, "I may not have riches to give you. I may not have a mansion to offer, but I have a heart that beats only for you. I have love that will never run dry. Will you marry me? Will you be my wife, my partner, my forever?" For a moment, Roselline just stared. Her heart felt too big for her chest. Then, with a sudden, joyful cry, she dropped to her knees in front of him, wrapping her arms around his neck. "Yes, yes, yes, yes," she laughed, tears streaming down her cheeks. "1,000 times yes." Raphael laughed too, his own eyes glistening as he slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, like it had been waiting for this moment all along. They held each other tightly, rocking back and forth, laughter and tears mixing in a swirl of relief, love, and hope. That night, the tiny apartment felt like a palace. They stayed up late, sitting cross-legged on the bed, notebooks and scraps of paper scattered everywhere as they began planning their wedding. "I don't have any family to invite," Roselline said quietly at one point, her smile faltering for a brief moment. "My parents are gone, and I've lost everyone from that world." Raphael reached across, taking her hand in both of his. "Rosie," he said softly, "my family will come. My mother, my brothers, my cousins. They will come and surround you with love. From today, they're your family too." Roselline looked at him, eyes wide and shining. "I want to meet your mother," she whispered. "We've been talking on the phone, but I've never met her. I want to know the woman who raised the man I love." Raphael smiled warmly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I promise, my love," he said. "In a few days, I'll take you to my village. You will meet my mother, and she will love you just as much as I do." They leaned into each other then, foreheads touching, a soft and peaceful silence wrapping around them. And for the first time in a long while, Roselline's heart felt full, not with riches, not with titles, but with love. The morning sun had barely kissed the edge of the horizon when Raphael and Roselline set out, their small bags packed and spirits high. The old, rattling 18-seater commercial bus they boarded was crammed with travelers, women balancing baskets of food, a crying baby somewhere at the back, and a man in the front already snoring softly before the bus even pulled out of Lagos. Roselline had never traveled like this before. The air was heavy with the smell of roasted plantain, engine oil, and dust. The bus windows rattled as they bumped over rough roads, and every pothole jolted them a little closer together. But in Raphael's hand, Roselline felt something steady, his thumbs softly brushing over her fingers, silently reminding her, "You're safe." The hours stretched on. They passed towns and villages, palm trees and open fields, hawkers tapping on the windows with bottled water and snacks. They shared puff-puff and boiled corn from roadside sellers, laughing when Raphael got crumbs on his shirt. 8 hours. 8 hours of bumpy roads, slow traffic, and long stretches of silence as they both drifted in and out of sleep against each other's shoulders. It was just past dusk when they finally pulled into Ajelete village. The sky had turned a soft indigo, the air cooler, and the first stars blinking faintly overhead. As they stepped down from the bus, Roselline's heart raced in her chest. She looked around, Small clay houses, narrow footpaths, oil lamps flickering in doorways. The sound of chickens clucking in the distance, laughter echoing faintly from a nearby compound. Raphael squeezed her hand, smiling. "Come on, Rosie," he murmured. "They've been waiting." As they approached his family compound, Roselline saw them. His mother, a short, round woman with warm, tired eyes and a headscarf neatly tied, standing at the entrance, a wide grin stretching across her face. Two younger sisters, whispering excitedly behind her, their faces lit up with curiosity. A younger brother, tall and lanky, leaning against the wall, trying to look cool but failing to hide his eager smile. And just behind them, near the doorframe, his father, a tall, broad man, arms folded, eyes watchful, face unreadable. As soon as they stepped into the compound, Raphael's mother let out a joyful laugh, rushing forward to embrace her son tightly. "Ah, my son," she exclaimed, pulling him into her arms. "Welcome, welcome home." Then she turned to Roselline, her eyes softening, her voice gentler. "And this must be the one you've been telling me about." Roselline smiled shyly, bowing her head respectfully. "Mom, it's so good to finally meet you." Raphael's mother reached out and pulled Roselline into a warm, lingering hug. "Ah, you are welcome, my daughter. You are very, very welcome." The sisters crowded around, giggling, asking questions, touching her dress and hair, curious about the city girl who had captured their brother's heart. The brother gave Raphael a playful punch on the shoulder. "Big bro, you've done well." But when Raphael led Roselline to his father, the atmosphere shifted. His father's face remained stern, his eyes scanning Roselline quietly. No smile, no words at first. Roselline felt a chill of nervousness creep up her spine. But then, slowly, almost reluctantly, the old man gave a small, tight nod. "You are welcome," he murmured, his voice gruff. "Come inside." Raphael exhaled softly, brushing his hand against Roselline's back in quiet reassurance. That night, under the soft glow of lanterns and the smell of cooking soup wafting from the kitchen, Roselline sat surrounded by Raphael's family. They laughed, shared stories, and for the first time in weeks, she felt something settle in her chest. A sense of belonging, a sense of family, one that wanted her to stay. Even as the old man watched quietly from his chair, Roselline felt hope rising in her heart. This was a new beginning. That evening, the small compound buzzed with quiet excitement. The family laid out a simple but delicious dinner. Steaming jollof rice, vegetable soup, smoked fish, and fresh palm wine. The sisters helped carry plates to the wooden table in the open-air kitchen, while the mother moved between the kitchen and the seating area, fussing over Roselline like a mother hen. Raphael's father sat in his wooden chair at the far end of the compound, watching everything with silent eyes. Roselline felt the warmth of the family wrap around her, the laughter, the teasing, the questions about Lagos life. The younger sister, Ada, sat beside her, asking about city fashion, while the brother, Chuka, kept grinning at Raphael, throwing in cheeky comments that made everyone laugh. But every now and then, Roselline's eyes drifted to the father. His face remained hard to read, quiet, thoughtful, reserved. She wondered what was in his heart, what he was thinking, and if someday his eyes would soften. Later that night, after the laughter faded and the stars lit up the village sky, Raphael and Roselline sat together under a mango tree at the edge of the compound. The village was quiet, the soft sounds of crickets filling the air. Roselline leaned against Raphael's shoulder, her voice soft. "Your mother, your sisters, they're wonderful," she murmured. "And your father, I hope one day he will accept me." Raphael kissed the top of her head gently. "Give him time," he whispered. "He's a man of few words. But I know, deep down he'll come around." Roselline let out a long breath, feeling the day's exhaustion slowly melt away. For the first time in a long time, she felt at peace. No Anthony, no city noise, no heavy expectations, just the cool night breeze, the quiet village, and the man she loved by her side. That night, as she lay in the guest room they had prepared, Roselline stared up at the wooden ceiling, listening to the faint voices of the family in the next room. She smiled to herself. Maybe, just maybe, this was where she was meant to be. The soft glow of morning sun spilled over Ajelete village, casting a golden light across the clay rooftops and the narrow footpaths between the houses. The sounds of village life were already alive, roosters crowing, goats bleating, and women sweeping the sandy compounds with long brooms. The smell of wood smoke drifted lazily through the air. Raphael stood at the door, holding a small straw hat in his hand. "Ready, Rosie?" he asked with a smile. She came out, tying a scarf over her hair, laughing softly. "Ready as I'll ever be." They were joined by Sarah, Raphael's older sister, a tall, graceful woman with a gentle smile and warm eyes. She handed Roselline a walking stick and chuckled. "Don't worry, city girl. We won't make you carry yams today." Together, they set off down the narrow footpath, winding past tall maize fields and cassava patches. The earth smelled rich, the sun warmed their backs, and birds flitted through the trees, singing above their heads. As they walked, Roselline glanced at Raphael curiously. "Tell me about your sisters," she asked softly. Raphael smiled, glancing at Sarah ahead of them. "Sarah," he began, "she's the oldest. She's strong, kind, always been a mother figure when Mama was busy. But life's been hard for her." He lowered his voice slightly. "She has 2 kids, Caleb and Justina. The father, well, he ran off after the first child, disappeared for years. Then, like a bad dream, came back and left her with another child. She did it out of love. She believed he would change, but he didn't." Roselline's heart tightened. "She's so sweet," she murmured. "She deserves so much better." Raphael nodded slowly. "She does. She works hard to give those kids a good life." He smiled faintly. "Deborah is the younger one, a bit of a wild spirit, single, independent, full of energy, always getting into small trouble, but her heart is good." "And Eric?" Roselline asked. Raphael chuckled. "Ah, Eric, my younger brother. Single, tall, always trying to act cool, but he's a good guy deep down. Loves football, drives Mama crazy sometimes." Roselline laughed softly, feeling warm bloom in her chest. This was what she had longed for, not just Raphael, but his world, his people, his roots. At the farm, Sarah showed her how to dig up cassava, how to sort maize, and even let her carry a small basket on her head, laughing when Roselline nearly toppled over. The breeze was soft, the land wide and open, and for the first time in a long while, Roselline felt the weight in her chest ease. By evening, they were walking home, tired but happy, their arms swinging loosely at their sides. Roselline's face was flushed with sun and laughter. "That," she said breathlessly, "was amazing." Raphael grinned, wiping a smear of dirt from her cheek. "I told you," he teased. "Village life has its magic." Sarah laughed softly ahead of them, her heart lightened by the joy radiating from the couple. As they walked to the compound gates, the smell of dinner was already in the air. Roselline felt it deep in her bones. She was no longer a visitor. She was part of this family now. The next morning dawned bright and warm over Ajelete village. The roosters crowed early, and the air was alive with the sounds of women sweeping compounds and children running barefoot down dusty paths. At the doorway, Raphael gently kissed Roselline's forehead. "Stay home today, my love," he murmured softly. "I'm worried about yesterday's sun tired you out. Rest. I'll be back early, I promise." Roselline smiled, touched by a concern. "All right, but don't leave me waiting too long." He laughed, gave her one last hug, and with a playful wave, disappeared down the path with his siblings. The compound grew quiet. Roselline sat with Mama Sarah under the shade of the veranda, peeling groundnuts and chatting softly. Mama told her old stories of village festivals, childhood games, and the troubles of raising 3 stubborn children. Roselline listened with fond smile, grateful for these quiet hours. But as noon approached, boredom began to stir. "Mama," Roselline said gently, "I'll take a little stroll, just to stretch my legs." Mama Sarah smiled, waving her off. "Go, my daughter, but don't wander too far." Roselline walked slowly through the village, the red earth warm under her sandals, children laughing as they chased each other past her. She admired the thatched rooftops, the scent of fresh yam cooking, the sound of women's laughter drifting from courtyards. After some time, she made her way back to the compound, a soft peace filling her chest. But just as she reached the door to their small room, she froze. Voices, sharp, tense. She realized it was Raphael's parents. She pressed herself quietly beside the doorway, her heart beginning to thump. "I'm telling you, woman," Papa Eric's voice snapped, "I will not be part of this rubbish." "Oh, will you calm down?" Mama Sarah shot back, her voice fierce. "This is an opportunity for this family, and we will use it to the fullest. She's just a girl. They're just young people in love. Must we?" I said, "Don't intervene." Mama Sarah hissed, "This is not the time for your soft heart. Old man, let them marry, but we will not be fools in this house." There was a sharp scraping of a chair. "I'm warning you, woman." "Enough," Mama Sarah barked. "You always want to be the saint. Let me handle this." Roselline's breath caught in her throat. Slowly, quietly, she turned away from the door, her steps feather-light. She walked across the compound and sank down under the mango tree, folding her hands tightly in her lap. Her mind raced. What opportunity? What were they planning? Why was Mama so determined? Why was Papa resisting? The sun felt suddenly too hot, the air too tight around her chest. For the first time since coming to Ajelete, a crack had appeared in the perfect picture she had been holding on to. She sat under the tree, lost in thought, her heart troubled. As she sat there, lost in her storm of thoughts, a faint sound pulled her back. Shuffling feet, a dragging cloth, a faint hum that turned into a murmured song. When Roselline lifted her head, she saw her, a woman dressed in rags, barefoot, with a tattered scarf hanging loosely over her gray, tangled hair, slowly approaching the narrow path. On her head, the woman balanced a bundle of firewood and old calabashes, some cracked, some covered in dirt. Her face was lined with deep wrinkles, and her eyes flickered with a strange, sharp brightness, half lost, half knowing. She stopped right in front of Roselline, swaying slightly, and let out a small, dry laugh. You sit here, fine girl," the woman rasped, shaking her head. "You sit here, and you don't know they're planning for you." Roselline's eyes widened. She whispered, startled. The woman took a step closer, lowering her voice. "Wise up, child," she murmured, her voice a mix of song and warning. "Go back to town. Get up. Run back to where you have sense and freedom, before they close the door and you can no longer leave." She cackled softly, tapping her fingers against her head. "Foolish girl, you dance in a snake's den and think you are in a garden." Just as Roselline opened her mouth to speak, a sharp voice cut through the air. "Away, woman! Away!" Mama Sarah stormed out of the compound, her wrapper flapping at her heels, her arms waving furiously. "Go away from here. Go, mad woman! Don't disturb my guest," she scolded, grabbing a small stick and shooing the old woman like a stray chicken. The ragged woman cackled again, backing away slowly. They cover your ears too. But the heart knows. The heart always knows. And with that, she shuffled down the path, disappearing into the bush, her humming fading into the distance. Mama Sarah turned to Roselline, her face tight with concern. "Don't mind her, my daughter," she said firmly. "She's a mad woman, always wandering the village, talking nonsense. Don't let her words stay in your mind." Roselline tried to smile, but her heart was pounding. Something about the woman's words had sunk deep, like a seed planted in her chest, twisting with unease. She sat back on the mango tree, her mind now more troubled than ever. Watch out for the next season. Thanks for watching. Kindly subscribe and like. What do you think of the Raphael family? What are they planning? Do you think Roselline would have a rethink? Come to the comments section. Let's discuss it together. Your opinion is highly valued. Thanks so much.